City boss Pep Guardiola said he was sad at the outcome of Saturday's 1-0 FA Cup final loss to Crystal Palace, but largely happy with how his players performed in the Wembley showpiece. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a nice day. Before we begin the video, please subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. A 16th minute Eberechi's goal proved the difference and saw the Eagles claim their first major piece of silverware. City created a host of chances in both halves and also saw Omar Marmoush's first-half penalty saved by Palace keeper Dean Henderson. Reflecting on the defeat, the Blues boss admitted it was a hugely disappointing feeling but added that he was largely satisfied with the way his side performed. Congratulations to Crystal Palace on their first FA Cup. It is history, Pep said. We played a good defensive game and controlled the transitions, and incredible threat except the goal. They are difficult to control at throw-ins and corners and free kicks, but we could not score in the last two games. We played better than the Southampton game, we were more active, and I would say we were really good in many things, created a lot but we didn't score and that's why we could not win. There was an element of controversy to the game with Palace keeper Dean Henderson making a string of fine saves in addition to that penalty save after having escaped a potential red card for handling the ball outside the box when challenging Erling Haaland. However, the boss refused to dwell on that key moment. Instead, he insisted that though he left Wembley feeling disappointed at the outcome, there was no sense of ifs or buts. The game plan didn't work because we didn't win, but I didn't have any regrets, Pep added. At Southampton I had a bad feeling, but today we are sad because it's the FA Cup final and how nice is the day and the songs and the crowd, and it's such a beautiful day. We are here and played to win and played much better than the 5-2 win at home to Palace and played better than last season when we lost to United in the final. We had chances, but it's not easy with so many players there in the box, and we continue. Now we rest and recover quick for the last two finals to qualify for the Champions League. The boss also revealed what prompted him to name Claudio Echeverri on the bench, with the Argentine summoned on late in the second half for his City debut and coming close on a number of occasions to leveling. That was not a bad decision, the way he played, Pep added. He had 3 chances in small spaces. I saw him in training sessions. He's moving really well in small spaces, so creative, and I thought that in the last minutes, he could find something in these type of games. The quiet after the roar, Guardiola's reflection on Wembley heartbreak. The Wembley sun had begun to dip below the rim of the stadium, painting a soft gold hue over the steel and glass of England's national ground. Confetti still fluttered about like startled butterflies, remnants of a celebration that did not belong to Manchester City. The scoreboard told a stark story: Crystal Palace 1, Manchester City 0. It was not supposed to end like this. Not for a side sculpted with precision, not for a team that had danced through the Premier League with orchestral grace, nor for a manager whose name had become synonymous with modern footballing genius. Yet football, ever the unpredictable muse, had chosen to favor the underdog. And Pep Guardiola, ever the philosopher of the sport, stood still on the touchline, eyes fixed not on the losing tunnel but on the grass his players had just poured their souls onto. I am sad, of course, he would later say in the concrete corridors of Wembley. But not angry. Not with my players. A game of inches and ironies. City had controlled the ball, as they so often do. Passes strung together like pearls, movements as rehearsed and refined as a ballet. They had pressed, prodded, and poured forward. But the net, that cruel final judge of effort, remained untouched. Crystal Palace had been brave. Not reckless, but brave. They absorbed, they resisted, and when the chance finally came, an awkward bounce, a flicked header, and a sudden sprint, it was Jordan Ayew who wrote his name into folklore. The ball nestled into the bottom corner past a diving Ederson, and Wembley erupted. Not in sky blue, but in red and blue. Crystal Palace red and blue. On the touchline, Guardiola didn't yell. He didn't wave his arms in theatrical dismay. Instead, he placed his hands behind his back and nodded slowly. He had seen this before, in Barcelona, in Munich, even here in Manchester. The game where everything is done right, yet everything goes wrong. Beyond the tactics board. Inside the dressing room, the silence was thick. Sweat still glistened on foreheads, jerseys clung to tired limbs, and booths sat scuffed and still. Guardiola moved among them, not as a general among soldiers, but as a craftsman among apprentices. He had nothing to chastise. There was no laziness, no cowardice, no betrayal of the blueprint. Only misfortune. There are times, he said softly, not so much to the cameras but to himself, when football is like life. You do everything right. You love, you work, you fight. And you still lose. His players looked at him, some with wide eyes of disbelief, others with the flat gaze of the emotionally drained. For many, this was their first taste of true heartbreak under Guardiola. They were used to winning, to dominating, to lifting. But this loss, sharp, stunning, was different. Credit where it's due. Even as disappointment settled in, Guardiola's respect for the opponent did not waver. He sought out Palace's manager.